Hi everyone, I wanted to welcome you to LIB 271 for the spring term at San Jose State University. This is just a really brief introduction to the class and to particularly the assignments for this semester, and I wanted to make sure that everyone got to see me sitting at my desk and hear my voice and give you, like I say, a really brief introduction to the class. I've posted a little Jing tutorial that will give you some ideas about how to get started for the class this semester. Take a look at that. It's about 5 minutes long, and it kind of guides you through the first week or so of classes and gives you a sense of where things are on the Angel course site. In terms of the assignments, I did want to give you a really quick overview of the assignments and make sure that everybody's on the right track for those assignments this semester. You'll see on the Angel course site in the folder entitled Course Information, I've posted a document called Assignments, and this is the detailed information about the assignments that are listed on the course green sheet. So make sure you take a look at those, that document, and look at those assignments. And read very carefully, because I think all the information that you need to be successful in those assignments is listed fairly clearly on the assignment information. Once you've read through the course assignment information, if you have further questions, be sure to let me know. On the Angel course site, I have created discussion forums for each of the 4 assignments, and you can post questions specific to those assignments in the specific folder, or a specific forum rather, and I will answer those questions as best I can. As I've said in the course introduction, this is the first time this course has been taught. It's a brand new course, so there may be a few questions that you have that I can't really answer because I haven't used these particular assignments with other students. So you're kind of my guinea pigs, and that's both a good position to be in because you're the one setting the bar. But it also can be a bit of a scary situation to be in because I don't have examples and I don't have specific ideas about what I'm looking for in terms of these assignments. So we'll work together and make sure that we sort out any questions that you have and try our best to make sure everybody does very well on them. The first assignment is a report on your reading of the course textbook, and this assignment is basically asking you to read the course textbook in its entirety fairly early in the term, and then write a really brief sort of response to that textbook. In the document entitled Assignments, I've given you some pretty clear steps about how to go about doing this assignment. As I say in step 1, I'd like you to read the textbook, take notes as you read, highlighting your responses to the book. Once you've read the book, then you need to write this very brief response that includes 5 takeaways, any key ideas from the text that may influence or inform your practice, or may influence or inform how you approach this course. Then I'd like you to reflect briefly on your experience of reading the book. And this point might be the most difficult to get your head wrapped around. Essentially what I'd like you to do is think about here the approach that you took when you were actually reading the book. Did you read it sequentially in order from the beginning to end? Did you have to go back and reread particular sections? Did you find it was difficult to read particular sections? Was there information that you found lacking or information that you felt you needed in order to be more successful in reading or understanding the book? That kind of thing. I want you to think about how you read the book and how you experienced that reading. And then finally, I'd like you to pose at least 3 questions that you found yourself asking as you read the book, or questions that you have based on your reading of the book that you hope will be answered throughout the rest of the course. Write this up in a Word document. It can be fairly informal. It's a reflective paper, so informal is good. Make sure you cite any sources, including the textbook. And submit your response to me either by email, as it says in the document, or I've actually created assignment drop boxes for all of the assignments for this semester, and you can post these assignments to the appropriate drop box by the deadline. The second assignment is a personal reflection on libraries and reading programs. And essentially what I'm asking in this assignment is for you to reflect on your experiences of school and public libraries as a child and as a young adult. And I'd like you to think specifically about any memories you may have of reading in the context of libraries and your experiences with reading programs, whether they are summer reading programs or reading incentive programs like Accelerated Reader, or any other kind of reading program that you perhaps participated in either your school or your public library. This report is really a chance for you to think about the role of libraries, the role libraries have played in your life up to this point, and sort of the context in which you're going to be approaching the rest of this class, which is looking at reading programs in school and public libraries. So I've asked you some questions, I've given you some suggestions about how you might approach this particular assignment on the assignment document. I've said that the format for your presentation doesn't matter, and it really doesn't. You can write this up as a very traditional paper using a Word document and just write it up in a very sequential, logical kind of way. Or if you perhaps want to be a little more creative or multimedia about this, then you can create some other form of presentation, including a podcast or a voice thread or a Prezi or just about anything. The format doesn't matter. I will not be assessing the format per se, but I will be looking at how well you convey your story about your experiences in libraries. The third assignment asks you to find a public or a school library to visit and also to interview a librarian at that particular school or public library. If you already work in a public or school library and would like to use that library, you're more than welcome to do that. You do need to find a librarian to interview, and if you happen to be the librarian in question at that particular library, then I guess maybe you and I should chat a little bit about how you will handle that part of the assignment. But I want this assignment to be as practical as possible, so if you already work in a library, then feel free to use the library in which you're most comfortable and which you are most familiar with. In this assignment, you're asked to visit a library to learn about the types of reading programs the library offers, how those programs are planned and implemented, and the logistics involved in offering these programs to children and young adults. I'm also asking you to interview a youth services librarian in that library to further understand how reading is promoted and encouraged through both informal and formal programs. Your final product for this assignment will be a written report, and I've given you some specific ideas about topics or questions that you might want to think about asking and things that you will want to take note of when you're actually visiting the library. You probably need to plan to visit your library at least once, although you may need to go back more than once, in which case you'll need to kind of plan that into your schedule. And like I say, I've given you some bullet points in the assignment information just as a starting point. This is by no means a comprehensive list of questions or topics that you should be paying attention to and asking about, but it does get you started and kind of give you a sense of the sorts of things that I think are probably important when you are visiting the library and things that you probably want to take note of when you're visiting and talking to the librarian there. This, as I said, will be a more formal paper. It doesn't have to be formal in the sense that it needs to be written in third person or anything like that, but just more formal in the sense that I want you to actually write it as an actual written report. And I've given you some assessment criteria in that document. The final assignment is the big assignment for this class. It's worth 40% of your final grade. And essentially what I'm asking you to do is either work by yourself, or if you prefer, you can choose to work with a partner to design a reading program for a school or a public library based on the professional and research literature that we've discussed in class. The final reading program plan that is going to make up your final project for this class will outline everything that is required to run a successful library reading program, including specific program ideas, rationale, connections to relevant research, marketing plans, and more. And in the assignment information, I've given you a great deal of information about what I'm looking for in this assignment. You can see that I have given in that assignment information a fairly detailed process, and the fact that your plan needs to include programming ideas for a minimum of 3 months. This means that you can plan either a summer reading program or perhaps a winter reading program, or if you're focusing on a school library, you can plan a program that's more appropriate for a school. Whatever the case is, you need to have programs that you've designed and that you've planned that will cover a minimum of 3 months. If you want to do more than that, that's perfectly acceptable, but 3 months is the minimum. I want you to be specific and realistic. Prepare it as if it were being used either by yourself or by other library staff members at a particular branch or library. I would recommend that you use the library that you visited for the previous assignment, for that visit and observation assignment, and create programs for that particular library, since that will be the library that you are most familiar with at this particular point in time. You will need to decide who you want to target your program plan for, whether you want to program for school-age children or tweens or teens or even younger children. The age of the child that you're focusing on does not matter particularly, except that it will impact the kinds of programs and the kinds of activities that you are presenting in your plan. I've given you some suggestions about things that your plan must include. You have to have an introduction, you have to have some background about the library, you need to have developmental information about the age group you're focusing on, a program theme if applicable, and that's really important because especially if you're planning a summer reading program, often your themes are tied into a broader theme that's being used by an entire state or a province or a library system. So you need to kind of think about that and think about the theme that you want to pull into this. Then you need to include month-by-month programming outlines for each of the 3 months of the summer reading program or equivalent. If you're planning a summer reading program or something similar, you need to think about whether you're having a reading game and what that will look like and how you will incorporate that into your plan. You need to have some special events, and I've given you some suggestions for that. Then you need to have some kind of a summary or a conclusion, as well as a list of resources that you've consulted to compile your plan, and a brief final reflection that outlines the process that you've gone through to prepare this plan and what you've learned and what you are still wondering about as you come to the end of this particular class. I will be looking for, among other things, the fact that you've considered all of the particular elements and themes that we've talked about in this class, connections to readings, connections to lectures, connections to course content, and that kind of thing are all the kinds of things that I'll be thinking about and looking at when I assess your final project. As I said, you are welcome to work with a partner if you so choose, but that's completely up to you. If you want to work with a partner, just let me know. You'll have to agree on the library that you're going to focus on, and if you do work with a partner for the final assignment, you will each need to do a separate library visit and interview with a librarian assignment. That will not be done with partners. So it may be easier in some ways to work on this project by yourself, but on the other hand, it's sometimes nice to work with a partner so that you can bounce ideas off one another and work together to create program plans and ideas. I hope this little overview of the assignment information for this particular class has been helpful. As I said, all the information is listed there on that assignment document, but if you have questions about anything related to the course assignments, especially as we get closer to due dates, do feel free to send me an email, Skype with me. My Skype contact information is available on the course outline, and or post a question or a comment or a message to the Angel discussion site for that particular assignment. Thanks everyone. As I said, have a wonderful term. I look forward to working with you, and if you have any questions, do feel free to let me know.